Black rains and black snows, rains as black as a deluge of ink, jet black snowflakes. Such a rain as that which fell in Ireland, May 14th, 1849, described in the Annals of Scientific Discovery, 1850, and the Annual Register, 1849. It fell upon a district of 400 square miles, and was the color of ink, and of a fetid odor, and a very disagreeable taste. The rain at Castle Common, Ireland, April 30th, 1887. Thick, black rain. American Meteorological Journal, 4/193. A black rain fell in Ireland, October 8th and 9th, 1907. Simon's Meteorological Magazine, 43/2. It left a most peculiar and disagreeable smell in the air. The orthodox explanation of this rain occurs in Nature, March 2nd, 1908. Cloud of soot that had come from South Wales, crossing the Irish Channel and all of Ireland. So the black rain of Ireland of March 1898, ascribed in Simon's Meteorological Magazine 3340 to clouds of soot from the manufacturing towns of North England and South Scotland. Our intermediatist principle of pseudologic, or our principle of continuity, is, of course, that nothing is unique or individual, that all phenomena merge away into all other phenomena, that, for instance, suppose there should be vast superoceanic or interplanetary vessels that come near this Earth and discharge volumes of smoke at times. We're only supposing such a thing as that now, because conventionally we are beginning modestly and tentatively. But if that were so, there would necessarily be some phenomenon upon this Earth with which that phenomenon would merge. Extra mundane smoke and smoke from cities merge, or both would manifest in black precipitations, in rain. In continuity, it is impossible to distinguish phenomena at their merging points, so we look for them at their extremes. Impossible to distinguish between animal and vegetable in some infusoria, but hippopotamus and violet. For all practical purposes, they're distinguishable enough. No one but a Barnum or a Bailey would send one a bunch of hippopotami as a token of regard. So away from the great manufacturing centers. Black rain in Switzerland, January 20th, 1911. Switzerland is so remote, and so ill at ease is the conventional explanation here, that Nature, 85/451, says of this rain that in certain conditions of weather, snow may take on an appearance of blackness that is quite deceptive. Maybe so. Or at night, if dark enough, snow may look black. This is simply denying that a black rain fell in Switzerland, January 20th, 1911. Extreme remoteness from the great manufacturing centers. La Nature, 1888, 2/406. That August 14th, 1888, there fell at the Cape of Good Hope a rain so black as to be described as a shower of ink. Continuity dogs us. Continuity rules us and pulls us back. We seem to have a little hope that by the method of extremes we could get away from things that merge indistinguishably into other things. We find that every departure from one merger is entrance upon another. At the Cape of Good Hope, vast volumes of smoke from great manufacturing centers, as an explanation, cannot very acceptably merge with the explanation of extra mundane origin. But smoke from a terrestrial volcano can, and that is the suggestion that is made in La Nature. There is in human intellection no real standard to judge by, but our acceptance, for the present, is that the more nearly positive will prevail. By the more nearly positive, we mean the more nearly organized. Everything merges away into everything else. but proportionately to its complexity. If unified, a thing seems strong, real, and distinct. In aesthetics, it is recognized that diversity in unity is higher beauty, or approximation to beauty, than is simpler unity. So the logicians feel that agreement of diverse data constitute greater convincingness, or strength, than that of mere parallel instances. So, to Herbert Spencer, the more highly differentiated and integrated is the more fully evolved. Our opponents hold out for mundane origin of all black rains. Our method will be the presenting of diverse phenomena in agreement with the notion of some other origin. We take up not only black rains, but black rains and their accompanying phenomena. A correspondent to Knowledge, 5190, writes of a black rain that fell in the Clyde Valley, March 1st, 1884, of another black rain that fell 2 days later. According to the correspondent, a black rain had fallen in the Clyde Valley, March 20th, 1828, then again, March 22nd, 1828. According to Nature, 943, a black rain fell at Marlsford, England, September 4th, 1873, more than 24 hours later. Another black rain fell in the same small town. The Black Rains of Slains. According to Reverend James Rust, Scottish Showers, a black rain at Slains, January 14th, 1862. Another at Carluke, 140 miles from Slains, May 1st, 1862. At Slains, May 20th, 1862. Slains, October 28th, 1863. But after 2 of these showers, vast quantities of a substance described sometimes as pumice stone, but sometimes as slag, were washed upon the seacoast near Slains. A chemist's opinion is given that this substance was slag, that it was not a volcanic product, slag from smelting works. We now have, for black rains, a concomitant that is irreconcilable with origin from factory chimneys. Whatever it may have been, the quantity of this substance was so enormous that, in Mr. Rust's opinion, to have produced so much of it would have required the united output of all the smelting works in the world. If slag it were, we accept that an artificial product has, in enormous quantities, fallen from the sky. If you don't think that such occurrences are damned by science, read Scottish Showers, and see how impossible it was for the author to have this matter taken up by the scientific world. The first and second rains corresponded, in time, with ordinary ebullitions of Vesuvius. The third and fourth, according to Mr. Rust, corresponded with no known volcanic activities upon this earth. La Science pour tout, 1126, that, between October 1863 and January 1866, 4 more black rains fell at Slains, Scotland. The writer of this supplementary account tells us, with a better, or more unscrupulous, orthodoxy than Mr. Rust's, that of the 8 black rains, 5 coincided with eruptions of Vesuvius, and 3 with eruptions of Etna. The fate of all explanation is to close one door, only to have another fly wide open. I should say that my own notions upon the subject will be considered irrational, but at least my gregariousness is satisfied in associating here with the preposterous. Or this writer, and those who think in his rut, have to say that they can think of 4 discharges from one far distant volcano passing over a great part of Europe, precipitating nowhere else, discharging precisely over one small northern parish, but also of 3 other discharges from another far distant volcano, showing the same precise preference, if not marksmanship, for one small parish in Scotland. Nor would orthodoxy be any better off in thinking of exploding meteorites and their debris, preciseness, and recurrence would be just as difficult to explain. My own notion is of an island near an oceanic trade route. It might receive debris from passing vessels 7 times in 4 years. Other concomitants of black rains. In Tim's yearbook, 1851-270, there is an account of a sort of rumbling, as of wagons, was heard for upward of an hour without ceasing. July 16, 1850, Bullock Rectory, Northampton, England. On the 19th, a black rain fell. In Nature, 36, a correspondent writes of an intense darkness at Preston, England, April 26, 1884, page 32. Another correspondent writes of a black rain at Crowle, near Worcester, April 26th. That a week later, or May 3rd, it had fallen again. Another account of black rain upon the 28th of April near Church Stretton, so intense that the following day brooks were still dyed with it. According to 4 accounts by correspondents to Nature, there were earthquakes in England at this time. Or the black rain of Canada, November 9th, 1819. This time it is orthodoxy to attribute the black precipitate to smoke of forest fires south of the Ohio River. Zerker, Meteors, page 238. That this black rain was accompanied by shocks like those of an earthquake. Edinburgh Philosophical Journal, 2/381. That the earthquake had occurred at the climax of intense darkness and the fall of black rain. Red rains. Orthodoxy? Sand blown by the sirocco from the Sahara to Europe. Especially in the earthquake regions of Europe, there have been many falls of red substance, usually, not always, precipitated in rain. Upon many occasions these substances have been absolutely identified as sand from the Sahara. When I first took this matter up, I came across assurance after assurance so positive to this effect that, had I not been an intermediatist, I'd have looked no further. Samples collected from a rain at Genoa, samples of sand forwarded from the Sahara, absolute agreement, some writers said, same color, same particles of quartz, even the same shells of diatoms mixed in. Then the chemical analysis. Not a disagreement worth mentioning. Our intermediatist means of expression will be that, with proper exclusions, after the scientific or theological method, anything can be identified with anything else, if all things are only different expressions of an underlying oneness. To many minds there's a rest, and there is satisfaction in that expression, absolutely identified. Absoluteness, or the illusion of it, the universal quest. If chemists have identified substances that have fallen in Europe as sand from African deserts, swept up in African whirlwinds, that's assuasive to all the irritations that occur to those cloistered minds that must repose in the concept of a snug, isolated little world, free from contact with cosmic wickedness, safe from stellar guile, undisturbed by interplanetary prowlings and invasions. The only trouble is that a chemist's analysis, which seems so final and authoritative to some minds, is no more nearly absolute than as identification by a child, or description by an imbecile. I take some of that back. I accept that the approximation is higher, but that it's based upon delusion, because there is no definitiveness, no homogeneity, no stability, only different stages somewhere between them and indefiniteness, heterogeneity and instability. There are no chemical elements. It seems acceptable that Ramsay and others have settled that. The chemical elements are only another disappointment in the quest of the positive as the definite, the homogeneous, and the stable. If there were real elements, there could be a real science of chemistry.